I became a Mason in Buenos Aires at the Cochabamba building. At Cochabamba building 223 was. I remember the top floor was where the district had its lodge meetings, and I became a Mason at the age of 24 in July 1957, exactly 63 years ago. I tell you why. My father, Alfred Leopold, was a Mason. He had become a Mason 4 years before, and he was very keen and climbed up quickly, and eventually we had recently married. I said, well, now I'd like you to become I'd like you to be initiated, and I will have the pleasure of initiating you if you agree, which is what happened actually. So I joined the Brotherhood with awe, because I was wondering what all those chaps with the aprons were, and why, and all the meaning of it. But eventually it all sank in with the years. Very scary, because I was the youngest of the lot. I think I was 23 years, and they introduced me to the big knots, and I did not have the, shall we say, the labia that you obtain with the years of giving speeches, and not only speeches, but learning the ritual, which gives you a lot of new words, sometimes some old-fashioned words, if you follow the little books, but it enriches your lingo. It was very nice, very big hall, and it was felt very big when some lodges did not fill their las líneas, they would say, but it was very pleasant, and down below it was a mission to seamen, as you would probably know. It was fine. It was filled completely in 1964, when I was made a worshipful master, after going through all the steps, junior deacon, senior deacon, inner guard before that, junior warden, senior warden, and became master in 1964, which was the year of our centenary, the centenary of the Star of the South Lodge. To that centenary, first of all, a lot of people came to the actual installation, especially some friends I had made in Uruguay and in Chile. But then, when in June meeting, the centenary was 1964. In 1964, that I was a master, and I was the centenary master, which was quite a privilege, really, but very scary, because we had people, the Grand Master from Chile, not only the district, the Master of Harmony, but master also the two masters from Uruguay, and the Grand Master and the two big monoises of Argentina, a delegate from Brazil, which was actually a business part of ours eventually. And I think I mentioned, no, the Peruvian friend of mine turned up later on when, as the years went by, I was nominated number 3. Number 3 is Assistant District Grand Master, after climbing up, no? Yes, I've got a few notes here. A touching experience took place when my father, who was by then a Director of Ceremonies, a past Master of SAR, and myself, I was Master, initiated my brother Eric. So he was Director of Ceremonies, who acted as Senior Deacon to taking, and I was in the chair, which is quite an experience to fathers, 3 brothers, 2 brothers initiating another brother of the family, Brother Eric. That was quite unique, I think, in the Masonic history. So I don't know whether actually Eric, my brother, became a Master of Star as well eventually, although unfortunately he passed away rather young, about 20 years ago, more or less. Well, my Masonic career was sparkled with very interesting experiences. One of them was in view of the fact that our company had established a very profitable company in Asunción de Paraguay. Of course, we started, and in charge of my brother, and my father and myself went up for business meetings because we had a line going to Panama and another one down to Buenos Aires, Rosario, as well as Uruguay, barging and etc. And it was very interesting that in Paraguay we at meeting some brethren from there, they asked us to form to establish York Lodge under the Paraguayan Grand Lodge. And it so happened that we agreed. My father and myself asked Haxel and the Big Noises. I said, yes, why not? We go as well. Actually, the Grand Master of Argentina went as well. So we went all by car. No, not all. But Valerie went as well. John Geldert, Ronnie Martineau, Haxel, yes. Ronnie Hurst, all members from the start. John Kirby, myself. Valerie went by car. We drove all the way by car. And of course it was quite fun. And we were treated regally in Asunción. The Grand Master of Argentina, I mentioned, was there. And we participated, we actually consecrated the York Lodge for under the Paraguayan Constitution, but in English. Yes. I don't think it's gone on, it resisted. Yes, beg your pardon. 4 or 5 Brazilian brethren came along, and it was a quite an interesting, meeting, interacting with the different rituals, but somehow that meeting, that installation went off beautifully. And it was quite an experience to have a Brazilian. We kept in English, and there was the 2 or 3 Neyelo from Argentina was there too. So how to connect each other, and let me say that the square and compasses connected and merged very beautifully to finish off that consecration. Quite an experience. That was one of the very nice experiences. They haven't changed much to what they are today. Relief and truth, and keeping a straight line of character, hard work, and forgiveness and trying to make your brother Masons better in understanding life, including all the good and bad experiences that we are forced today and before our time and this time, and perhaps in the near future as well. I don't think there's anything else that can be said about it. I think it would not be fair. Yes, in a way, I cannot forget my 2 previous virtual masters, who became my 2 follow-ups. I beg your pardon. On the way right, John Kirby and John Gelder. They were senior and junior wardens. They came straight after me. And when I joined the chapter, it was all the way round. I was number 3, number 2, and number 1. And of course that established quite an interesting link and friendship. I would say straightening out your character by trying to be more helpful to society, and also by directing the younger people with better advice on their future, not only business but mainly also with their families. I think that's a nutshell. Very positively. Very positive. What else can I say? I would say perhaps one of the female side had their tribulations, but then as time went by, they became better sisters or brothers to sisters. Very interesting. My future is unlimited. I would say the more people join Masonry, the more it expands, not only kept in small groups as has been for some years in lodges, but I would say that we have to open up to the communities even though a lot of people don't think like it, but maybe women, wives, will have to come into the picture eventually or as soon as possible, and because they're a great help, not only with following the Masonic principles, but I would say all those principles are proper and profitable for the Argentine communities, Chilean, Uruguayan, I would say that where we are specifically working as Masons, applying the principles of brotherly love, truth, education, and teaching people, especially poor people, how to start up a profession and being able to expand their expectation of life and for their families. Charity is fundamental, especially nowadays that due to the different economic policies for different countries, some of them are better than others. You have communities which are very poor, and they need the support of those people who can help them out, not only in education, but perhaps teaching them how to earn more money and knowledge, so they can progress in their lives and their children, their families. What I think we started in the Star of the South in Chaco was one of the examples of what I was mentioning before. And the more we teach these people how to better their lives, the better it will be for the society, in this case Argentine society or Chaco society. Let's face it, last time I used to go, everywhere we used to go, all the Masons that went with their wives, and we had a person who, Reverend Kent, for example, he was a Mason. A reverend married my wife and I, what was his name? Reverend Burton, Anglican Church. Kent was Presbyterian, which shows that the church principles are, at the end, are all the same. They still follow they have and they carry on following the principles of brotherly love, truth, and relief. District Grand Masters, let me see, Haxel, Martin, Georgia Newell, Grant, and Ernie Stevens. And of course Ian Thurn, who, funny enough, I met Ian when he just arrived from England, whose father was a teacher of history or geography at St. Andrews, Scott School. When I was in 1950, I was in cuarto año, and I've known Ian since then. I've known his future wife before we became his wife, Norma, which is a fantastic achievement for many years in the district. And been very friendly with Ian from that time, 51. And of course, I went to England, and eventually we did a wee bit of business when he was in the shipping, and my company was also doing some shipping for very briefly. But it's been, to me, a fantastic experience to have Ian first as a school child, and then now, and for many years, a wonderful district grand master. It was very trying time, because my son, our son, Christian, was in the Argentine Navy. And fortunately, in a way, fortunately, he was not being bilingual, because he was a bachiller from St. Andrews, as well as his father, and a rugby player for St. Andrews as well. He, being bilingual, as I said before, was in the line to be sent to Malvinas, Falklands. But due to the fact that his father, myself, had initiated him, together with yours truly, in getting a sailing boat. We had 2, 3, 4 years before. He had his brevet as he has a brevet as patron de yate. Of course, the yate was my own. We had a 32-footer, and went to Punta del Este, all around Rio La Plata. But he knew, and he still does, and he still has a lancha, which living now at the Delta due to the pandemia. But he mentioned that at his superiors in the Navy, and he was put as a patron de remolcador Tonocote, taking, he was in charge, he was the patron, means the one who takes the wheel, and he went during the Malvinas War, taking ammunition to Montevideo, which was a neutral port, and coming back, sometimes with dead bodies, which had been shifted from the south after the General Belgrano had sunk. Those survivors were taken to a neutral port, which was Montevideo. And those boxes, unfortunately, I call them, were brought in the remolcador back and forth at the wheel of our son, Christian. The district was closed due to the war, to avoid reactions, which were reactions taking place against some Anglo-Argentines, mainly British residents. But that was an unfortunate experience. If I might digress a bit, 2 years afterwards, just after 2 years, 1983, My wife Valerie and self went to England to visit her relations, and I had business. Every year I had business dealing partnerships. And coming back from one of my meetings one day, after having lunch about in the M4, about 40 minutes away from the M4, I was going back to meet Valerie in London hotel because we were going up to Yorkshire. The people, the clients I had lunch with, said, Ted Søding, would you like to go? Are you going back? Yes. We'll put a remise, a car, a chauffeur for you, and to take you to London, to the hotel where we were staying. As chap came along, and I sat beside him, not at the back. So I'll have a chat with this fellow. And funny enough, he said, where are you from, sir? No, we said, what a nice day, where are you coming, where you came? And he said, where are you from, sir? Canada? I said, no, not the States. No, Australia. No. India, no way. Look, New Zealand, no. Look, you'll never guess, I said. Where are you? I come from Argentina. You can't. Your accent, no, I know, but I explain how I'm married to an English woman, etc. But sir, what happened during last year, because it was 83, at the Falklands, at Malvinas? He mentioned both. It was very, very nasty, he said. Very, very unfortunate is what happened. So it was, sir. My son is going back tomorrow via Ascension to get onto the Helmers. You know, the Helmers was damaged by the Argentine Air Force during the war. So I didn't quite know, but I'm taking it from you. It was very, very serious. So I'm very sorry he's going back tomorrow. Do you think that everything is over? I think so, yes. You've got any amount of ships down there. I know this due to my son and also some friends we had. They're all gone by now in the Argentine Marina Guerra. And anyway, he said, well, how did your son do? I explained what I mentioned to you before. He was in charge of Gonocota, taking ammunition and bringing back dead bodies. So, oh my goodness! But is he out? Yes, he was just licensed about 4 months ago, and said, oh well, I hope nothing happens in the near future because my son is going tomorrow. I said, well, I'm glad your son is alive, and I'm glad your son is alive, sir. We got to the hotel, got off, and said, how much was it? I said, 12 pounds, sir. But leave it. He got off, taxi driver got off. Can I shake your hand? Of course, I not shook his hand. We embraced. I'm sorry, I get emotional. We embraced and we said, God bless your son. God bless your son. And that was it. That was a fantastic experience. Very moving, very moving. I gave him a very good tip too. Yes, unfortunately, the lodges that I visited were the one in Mendoza. I forget now the name. Aconcagua, that's right. Which was very interesting. I always went with Valerie, my wife, and it was most interesting to see the meeting, taking the meeting, helping with the meeting, and the day after going to one of the bodegas, which frankly I don't remember how we all got back to our different hotels, but it was very pleasant going to Mendoza, especially with some brethren from Harmony crossed over the Andes to help out with the ceremony. And then, of course, I never missed going to the 2 lodges we had in Rosario. They were fantastic. I remember Captain Gittins playing the piano, and I singing and playing the mouth organ, having a grand time. I don't remember how I got back to the hotel, but it was interesting driving back next day from Rosario. Yes, every other year. Well, I was a warden, senior, junior warden, and master. I went to both installations. Never missed them until both lodges gave up. And then Montevideo, to the 2 lodges there. And I mentioned York before in Paraguay. And yes, I was very, very friendly with Fred Parker, who was a Grand Master of Peru. I've been there twice to their meetings, very interesting. And of course, I used to attend to the Argentine Grand Lodge as well. Only once did I manage to coincide my business trip to London to go off to the grand meeting at Queen Street. Not the grand meeting, it was a meeting of a lodge that I was invited. Always the connection of the shake of the hands in one business meeting. Where you come from? I'm so-and-so. You're one of us? Yes. Well, how long are you staying for? Oh, 3-4 days. Come tomorrow, I'll pick you up at the hotel. Come to our meeting in Queen Street. That happened. It was very, very interesting, very nice. Always had to give a speech, more or less explain how things were being done in Argentina. No? Ladies' night, yes. We had ladies' night at the Swedish club 2 or 3 times, no more. They're very nice. A lot of aquavit was poured out, very typical Swedish. And then ladies' night we used to have at Cochabamba once, and we used to have ladies' night at the English club twice that I remember, which were a very nice place to have. And I think once we also had it at the American club there in Viamonte and 9 Julio.
Do you remember the family days?
Yes. I remember Family Day. I remember sponsoring the Brotherhood, sponsoring the nurses' graduation at the British Hospital, where I was also a member of the board for some years. And well, all Masons, many Masons contributed there. And likewise, going to the British Embassy, where we used to have a stall collecting for charity, which is our main aim, apart from the good relationship that has to goodwill amongst all men, that is our real aim.
Well, I think it's a very good institution. I think basically it's very good. The charity, and I think as Teddy said, it teaches them how to how to. If you follow the precepts of Masonry, you become a very good person, quite frankly, because you do. Unfortunately, you know, or don't always follow them, no? That's the thing. But it's a very good thing, I think. I think it has to be updated a bit. I mean, I don't know how it's going now because I'm a bit out of it. But there are some things I feel that really people have to be a bit more elastic and not be quite so, you know, it has to be done in English and it has to be memorized. The ritual is something which I used to take Teddy's ritual, and frankly, it's terrible. I mean, it's old-fashioned, it's antique. It's not even old-fashioned, it's prehistoric. I mean, you can't talk about this thing being a frog, a green frog. No, it has to be a round frog, half. I mean, for God's sake, it's a frog. It can't be. And you know what, it's to learn all the masonry, all the words. They're very difficult to learn. I know because it was difficult for Teddy. And, well, I feel sorry for the people who don't have a very good knowledge of English, and even having a knowledge, to learn it by heart is very difficult. It's very, I mean, that's my idea. I'm not a Mason, but it's very difficult. Yes, the ladies, no, family days not so much, but the ladies' nights, yes, I do. They were very nice, very enjoyable. I remember one especially, but it was terrible. I was sitting at a long table. They were long tables. And I was in the middle, and there were two Masons that I know very well. Actually, one of them's died. On either side of me, and they didn't get on. They just didn't get on. And one of them said something that annoyed the other one. And they were having such an argument, such a fight behind me. I didn't know where to put myself. I was like this. It was very embarrassing. But anyway, it was very nice. They're very nice ladies' nights. I hope they go on with them. They're very enjoyable. The family day, I haven't been to one for a long time, but those were very nice too. I think the last one was at St. Andrews, no?
We had a big one at St. Andrews.
Yeah, I think that's where I had the last one.
And one down in at the school where John, the master, down in not St. George's, the other one.
St. Albans.
St. Albans. The one in St. Albans is very good.
Yeah. Where? I've been to Rosario, I've been to Mendoza, Chile. I've been to Chile several times. Yes, they're all things one remembers. Some are nice, some are not so good. But where else? Montevideo? No, nowhere else really. To have a lot of patience. Sometimes we would get together, the wives, in these things, and we'd say, well, of course, the boys love dressing up, and they'd go and have their bit of fun. And sometimes they would say, it was so nice because while they're out, you can do what you like. Nobody bothers you. You can do what you're out. So, and it does them good. It does them good. And basically you think that the Masonry is a very good thing. I think it's a very worthwhile thing. And I think that should be kept up, because it's, I mean, I'd hate to think it was disappearing. On one of our trips to England, we went to see the big Masonic hall, and I must admit it's very, very interesting, and it's rather awe-inspiring because it's enormous, that place. Well, to help them learning their ritual, sometimes they get very nervous and they get very worked up, and to support them. I mean, obviously, if you love your husband, you will support him anyway. Sometimes, I remember, for instance, these things have changed, which I think is wonderful. I remember when my father-in-law was a Mason, and I used to ask him things, and no, I can't tell you these things, of course, they're all secret, you know. And that used to make me so damn mad. And I think it's wonderful the way it's opened up now, because I think, well, of course, there are some things that are obviously secret, but it can't be that closed. It's not good, I think, to have it that closed. These things all have to come out in the open and talked about. Otherwise, you don't get these young people wanting to join you, which is very important, because otherwise that will die down, and that would be a shame.